Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Well, hello, creatives. How are you? Really? How are you? How has 2024 been so far? We're a month in, I went to see live here in Los Angeles on Monday, just last Monday, which was January 29th. And I know you're hearing this in early February. I went to go see my favorite spiritual author, Gabby Bernstein, and teacher. And I've been a member of her Miracle membership for a few years, and I have read most of her books and use her meditations daily that are in our membership. And I've recommended her to probably every client. And I went to go see her. It was my first time seeing her live, and it was really, really cool. And her live talk was, the theme was becoming new. It's so appropriate, man. And the premise behind that is that, and she spoke really well on this, that we're in a season of becoming. We're in a season of becoming, given the last 3 years of the world's changes and the huge disruption that we had. And as always, her message and delivery was profound, and it sent what I call God bumps all through my body many times through the evening as I'm listening to her and just feeling the energy from stage and the people in the audience. It was a packed house. And again, her message was profound, and that was this. It's super appropriate, which you're going to hear in a moment for the guest I have. And her message is the secret to attracting what you desire is forgetting what you need and instead focus on who you want to be. There's 4 of these. What do you want to feel? What do you want to give? And what do you want to receive? Right? So the 4 is, again, and ask yourself this, and it's a great journal exercise. Ask yourself this several times a week. This is not a one and done. Who do I want to be? What do I want to feel? What do I want to give? And what do I want to receive? Man, I love the sound of it's a season of becoming. You have seasons in your life. And I think this is so spot on. I know it is the case for my life, and you'll hear from my guest, it's so true for her life. It's a very liberating thought, a season of becoming new, So yes, this is a good segue to bring on in a moment my special guest, Chelsey Marie, because she's in her own season of becoming, right? And becoming new. And how I know Chelsey is I am proud to say that she has and is my own brand manager for my company, for my business, for the last 10 years, actually going on 11 years. She's like family. Actually, she is family. She's the brilliance behind my brand, and she created, my gosh, my very first official website. You should have seen the one I had. My first 5 years in business was this awful looking website from Vistaprint. And I literally built a business my first 5 years on that website. And thank God for Chelsey was referred to me by an associate when I was in Allie Brown's program, her mastermind program that we were in for a couple of years. So Chelsey and I have quite a history. She literally has been there every step of the way. Like we were just talking about this before we came on. She's been here every step of the way in my business. She has seen everything the last 10 years and has been a tremendous support. So the brand you see out there on Instagram, on my website, all of it, the colors, the images, it's her. That's her talent. So you can thank her for that. And I'm so grateful. So Chelsey, a little background on her, and then I'll bring her on. Chelsey believes, I like this, by the way, listen to this. Chelsey believes that no market is too saturated for you to stand out. How about that? Because do we know how incredibly saturated the market is today? She says after starting her business at 19 years old, she's an old soul, she quickly became the go-to service provider for entrepreneurs who want to create an online presence that reflects who they are, right? There's the personal brand, and what they do in a way that converts, right? Converts to revenues. Her clients have grown to serve, gosh, tens of thousands of people across the world and consistently grow revenue from multiple six figures and $1 million levels. And you can too, she says. So over the last 10 years, so many resources have made it easy, right, or easier for you to become a brand online without investing thousands of dollars. Right? That's kind of part of her secret. And you don't have to have, according to her, a fancy website or a designer, and you need to make a statement. And there's a psychology to how to have yourself show up, right? So her mission is to help you bravely learn how to build your own brand without the overwhelm or the overspending. I like that. So it's my pleasure to welcome Chelsey Marie.
It's my honor to be here.
Yes. Amen.
I love that message about becoming. I don't want to interrupt you, but I loved it.
Isn't it great?
So good.
It's always when I'm composing, my scripts, I being the the writer that I am and the publicist and all of that. I love how, and I connect with my intuition. And as I start to write, kind of like a blank canvas, I go, what's going to be the segue opening? And this was so perfect. What came to me was Marla, the becoming Gabby. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know like about the listeners, but like what a beautiful way to integrate your intuition into everything too. And like, I'm sure somebody else other than me needed to hear that because yeah.
Good. Awesome.
So
Yeah, I love it. I've been re-listening to, by the way, her talk, that very talk is now on our membership app. So I was listening to it this morning. I know. So cool. Yeah. So, okay, let's turn it over to you, my dear. So let's have you share with the listeners, what are the highlights of your journey? Yeah, to get you where you are today.
well, as you said, like my business started when I was 19, but the way it was started, like I did it so accidentally. It's It was accidentally, I started a business at 19 because I was going to school. I was doing what every other, 19-year-old in the world does, right? I was running around like going to college, working retail, and I just wasn't really feeling fulfilled in school in the way that, most of my friends were. And I started to like notice I love marketing and I've always been really drawn to that. So, how could I start trying some things that I may not learn in school? And Facebook was still pretty new at the time. They had just released fan pages.
Hmm.
And I don't know what caused me to do this that day, but I called my stepmom, who I was not a big fan of. She's, love her so much. Shout out. But I wasn't a fan. We did not get along. I don't know why I called her, but I called her and I said, "Hey, can I help you with your fan page?" And
Hmm.
that moment of intuition and calling her that day is literally what started my business.
Wow.
Because as I reflect on it, I grew up in a home with a single mom, and
Hmm.
my mom, like most single moms, really struggled to balance, work and motherhood. And it was hard in a way that, I have a deep new appreciation for, but I looked at her and I was like, I don't want to struggle that hard. And so when I saw my stepmom, she's traveling all the time. She takes care of her boys. Like she kind of had that piece of her life. Um, and I was so curious about how she did it.
Hmm.
And I just kept following that breadcrumb until I had my own business. And now, as a newly single mom, I'm uncovering that mission is so much deeper, and it was rooted in that beginning,
Yeah.
and that intuition. And I didn't know why, but I knew that my business was meant to help other women
Hmm.
not feel dependent on anyone and to build businesses that were beautiful and unique and different and based on who they were and how they wanted to support others. And
Hmm.
that's really the business I've built, no matter whether I had partnership or not. So,
Love it.
intuition.
Yeah, amen. Wow. I don't know if I knew that part about that you started with the fan page. I know you
Yeah.
started, but I don't think I knew that detail. Interesting. I started with doing the fan page. So I'm curious, what were you majoring in? It was Arizona State, right?
I went to community college.
Oh, you went oh,
Yeah, I went to community college. I was going to go to community college because my parents couldn't afford it. And so I said I can go anywhere. And I went to Arizona and, hundreds of miles away from my
yeah.
home in Seattle. And it was a really wonderful experience. And it definitely, like, you know, defined a lot of the next several years of my life. And even now, but I think I was wanted to do fashion design or marketing, and specifically that. And I started to learn marketing in school. And I was noticing like the things that they were talking about were no longer how we were implementing marketing in the real world. And so when I started to see those, you know,
Ah,
that's kind of what got me thinking about it.
interesting. So you were focused on marketing, but the way they were teaching it was a little
Yeah.
old. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't up
You
to
know,
date yet. Yeah, it wasn't up to date.
Yeah, so I figured I'd just layer onto my schooling, and I ended up not continuing that education and
Yeah.
diving fully into my business. But
Yeah, amazing. At 19, everybody. Yeah, that's pretty young to begin a business. Well, and it's the accidental entrepreneur story, you know.
Mhm.
That's so
To
cool.
its core, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. All right. So share with us then, being that the, theme of the podcast is following your joy. What brings you the most joy in doing what you do?
The truth of it is I like the ripple effect that I have because it's not just me. supporting other businesses and helping their vision come to life, it's watching that vision come to life and then watching how it's able to impact their clients and their clients' lives or businesses. And that is really like what brings me the most joy, is when we're able to create something and then they go out and they get the result that they wanted in the first place, but then they also have other people going to get the results. Like that ripple effect, that's what's so fulfilling. That's why I keep coming back to my business, and I'm like, nope, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay. That is the joy for sure. I mean, the ripple effect, yeah, that's the bigger scope. And how I relate with that is I tell a lot of in the beginning when I'm working with a client, I'll share with them my mission, the bigger mission, which is another version of what you've just said, is that my mission, my intention is to coach and develop leaders, right? Develop
Yeah.
leaders, not only in their own business, but in their life, so that they are leaders of integrity, leaders of compassion, leaders of a healthy, good money relationship, all those things that I teach, intuition. And I build leaders because I can only get to so many. And meaning you be that leader that you get to pass it down and pay it forward.
Yeah.
Same thing, ripple effect.
It's the same thing. And if we look at like the mission that my business is founded on, right? It's all about how do we help more women in the world do what they love and have lives that they love, and not feel dependent on anything or anybody else. And I've been physically witness to that in so many different ways, right? From women growing their communities and growing their client base or growing their income. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, very good. Probably intuition in your story. Yeah. So given again that that's, the basis of the podcast, what I do, what I stand for, the importance of it, and intuition really needs to be your first sense, not your sixth. Right?
Yeah, no
Right?
kidding.
Imagine a world, where most of us actually use that intuition instead of our logic first. But yeah, share a story where you followed, your intuition, and I'm sure there's more to the fan page story on that. But yeah, where you follow your intuition that led to a joyful, fulfilling result.
Well, I mean, that first hit of intuition, I didn't recognize as intuition.
Right.
But, once her and I had started to kind of see that fan page have an effect in her actual business. And of course, that this is at the time where you didn't have to pay for ads to get traction or any of that, but also it wasn't extraordinarily saturated. And her clients started to notice what she was, or her, communities were starting to notice. And I know she was in a mastermind. And so I started working with each of the women in that mastermind. And it kept growing until a point where she was like, you should teach a class on this. And I was, 20, almost 21 at the time. And it's like, well, could I actually do that? And so we hosted a live webinar, and that's how I ended up growing my business. I put 900 women in that program called Fan Page Transformation, just teaching this. And then that led to me finding a mentor in branding, because I was like, you know what? I think I'm doing something that's about more than just social media, more than just about fan pages. Like, I think this is about, because I got a testimonial video back from one of the people who took that. And she was like, this changed my life. And I will never forget that video. I still have it. And on my really down days, I watch it just to remind me. But she's like, people are coming to me now and they're finding me. And this has changed how I'm seen. And the way I get clients. Had I not done that, it wouldn't have affected her. And then it led me to learn, teach myself everything I could about web design
Mhm.
and branding and graphic design, and just go all in on that. And that led me to Marla and so many of my other clients that have, stayed with me on and off for years, because I'm not just helping you, express your business. I'm helping you be who you are in a more embodied way so that you can find the right people, and so that they can find you. And so that's kind of how I've led with my intuition the whole time.
Mm.
And recently it's become more clear that like that is the strongest piece of my business. And when I lean more into it, I am more abundant.
Right. I love that. That's an excellent example of following intuition, right? And literally the miracles that come out of it.
I mean, yeah, it's very crazy and it's really fun to watch, but you never really know what you're supposed to be doing until you have that sensation of like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to do that. And I
Mhm.
have had that feeling more in the last 6 months than I have in years.
Oh, we'll talk about that. What's going on?
Well, I put my business on pause for a while since I had my daughter, and putting that purpose on pause and now being like, it's like the universe has redirected me back to it. And so when I started showing up, like, I took the leap and went to an event, and I'm sitting in the room, and in the first hour of that event, I'm like, I am supposed to be here. I was supposed to do this. Or I just met people along the way
Mhm.
where I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to meet them. I'm supposed to hear what they have to say. Um, and so it's been interesting to feel that kind of unlock more.
Nice. So it's evolving as the weeks go by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you seeing clarity around that and
Yeah. Cause I
meaning,
mean,
yeah.
business and branding yourself is like, it's the biggest, identity. It'll give you an identity crisis because you want to fit this mold. You want to be what everybody needs, and you want to make money, and you want to do all these things. But at the core of it, it's like, well, when you're able to understand who you are and do that, then you don't need to worry about trends or the cool girl aesthetic, or what's in style. You can just worry about what you want to be seen as and how you want to feel, and the more you do that, the more you stand out. And that has become more and more aligned. And as I align myself with that personally, I'm also noticing it professionally.
It's the saying, be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Yeah,
Yeah. In other words, own it. It's like
own it.
you're not supposed to, with social media, as we all know, it's a love-hate relationship. It's a good, it's a bad relationship.
Yeah,
I'll know what the negative is, and be in moderation with it. And it causes terrible anxiety for people and comparisonitis and all of that. But the good part is obviously it's how we're able to deliver that brand in
yeah,
the context of what we're talking about. But yeah, it's so important to, and it's hard. I mean, I'll admit, but when you really own yourself, your brand, it is literally, I know when I was teaching personal branding, as you remember way back then, that first iteration of my business, and I still teach personal branding. It's not a lead program anymore. It's still there, and I do, and I love it. But the point is, there's only one of you in the world. Literally. This is not a hyperbole. This is real. There's only one of you in the world, and that's your brand. And there is no competition.
yeah. And I think we can overthink that, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, even if you think about like if you're going to go to an event and you ask a girlfriend, like, what are you wearing? It's because you
Mm,
want to fit in, like intrinsically, like we want to fit in.
yeah.
And in being an entrepreneur, in doing your own thing, running your own business, like you have to break those, social constructs. Like cool is just a construct. We have to break it down and understand, okay, well, who am I? And not only what do I want to show the world, but and need to, but also what am I comfortable sharing with the world? And how do I get comfortable sharing my real personality with people? And there's so many forms of that because we know scrolling on social, you have 3 seconds to grab someone's attention, or they're going to just scroll right past whatever you have to say, no matter how magical or special what you have to say is. And so, in taking that and infusing that into your visuals and your voice, like
Mhm.
that's where I can totally geek out.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is your brilliance for sure. You really know how to orchestrate that. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. So based then, let's kind of go here based on your experience, what key advice, one key advice can you give our creatives that are listening?
I think we have to forget about being seen as a business. Like,
Yeah.
I think the definition of the word professional has changed so drastically, especially over the last 3 years. But even if we look, beyond that, like it's changed a lot in the last 10. And what we see as professional is not necessarily like you putting on a front.
Mhm.
Like we want you to look clean and simple and keep things clear,
Mhm.
but it's not necessarily so much about like a white button up, and like the headshot, right? It's more about how can you brand yourself as a person? And if you're creative, what holds us back from doing that is the fear of being pigeonholed. And yet, most of us center our entire online presence around what we do instead of the message behind it. And so I think that, understanding who you are as a human and, starting to do the work of putting yourself out there and getting comfortable with that, and not just comfortable, but confident with it.
Mhm.
That is when you're able to stand out and make the impact that you, in your intuition, know you're meant to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in personal branding, kind of saying this in the same vein, personal branding is who you are, not what you do. I mean, we have such a synergy around this, which is probably another reason why we've lasted so long, because we both so understand the same thing.
Yeah.
My specialty was in that and still is. Yours is that's your brilliance. And like we just speak the same language, and understand each other on that. Because personal branding is it's not easy when you don't have the natural tendency like we do and the part of our genius zone, if you will. It's hard. I mean, that's why we teach it, right?
Yeah. Well, and most of the people I work with, like they do something that nobody else can in the way that they can, right? But yet we focus on the fact that we're a photographer, but like what kind of photographer and who are you? We need to focus on the who are you part
Right.
instead of the what it is part, right?
Yep,
So
exactly. That's
yeah,
it.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, personal branding, who you are, not what you do. Yeah. And to go a little bit further in that, just for sake of our listeners, you know, personal branding is who you are, your passions, your interests, your quirks, right? Your family, your friends, your birthday, what makes you you, your genius zone. I mean, everything you're to ask yourself, you know, those questions, especially your top 5 passions. That's content. That's you, right? Versus obviously what you do in the world. So that's what we mean, everybody, about who you are as a brand. because and how that, take it a little bit further to connect the dots. Um, that's how you take your offline life and bring it online, right? Because you're building, right, the know, like, and trust factor with people. We're in a relationship marketing world. It's no longer the business marketing world. It's
Yeah.
relationship and has been since what, 2008. Um, and so that's the importance, which is what I'm really supporting what you're saying, Chelsey, is the importance of bringing yourself online. And we're talking about a business owner, right? That's fine if you're not, and it's important if you're a professional that works for a company, but we specialize in entrepreneurs. And the know, like, and trust factor is key to people buying what you're offering and or converting, right, to opt-ins and following you and so forth, is that really again, taking your offline life. And as I'm talking about this, I realize, oh my God, everybody knows how to do this today. I mean, look at TikTok. It's like
Yeah.
you get to see into people's lives more sometimes than you really prefer. But it seems to me, and especially the younger generation, which you're a part of, right? You guys really know how to do this. It's like there's
Well,
no learning that needs to be done.
maybe, but also I think, there's other things that came up for us with, growing up with it, right? Like,
Mm,
for my clients in older generations, they have some fears about like showing certain pieces of who they are online where, yeah, mine may not have that, but we still want to be seen a certain way by people. And so then we let that stop us, right? And
mhm.
then if you take any of these fears and you go try and build a business based on who you are, you take those fears with you and it impacts your content and therefore your conversion rate too, because you're not as comfortable, sharing different facets of who you are in different ways. And so I
Yeah.
think if we can understand how to bring all of those pieces of who we
Mhm.
are into like that vision we have for our life and all the pieces of it, not just the professional side,
Yeah.
that's where the magic happens. And that's where we see these people go from no following all the way to
Mhm.
like hundreds of thousands of followers. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that that's, part of it. It's, I don't know if it's so much like obviously there's an element of luck there,
Mhm.
but there's also this desire from your dream clients to really connect. And so how are you giving them opportunities to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm sitting here listening, it's interesting over the 13 years we've or 10 years, sorry, 10 years, 11 years we've known each other, the 15 years I've been working in this, the evolution, right? The evolution of people in their comfort level to be online. Now, today, it's like I said, it's second nature. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. But there are some, and I still have them, a few, not a lot, where it's hard for them to embrace their spotlight. It's hard for them to show up
Yeah.
even today. Do you find that too?
Yeah, because there's this, we're told like, oh, be yourself, but we live in a world where there's constant judgment and comparison,
Sure.
right? And so I think understanding that like who you are authentically is
Mm,
one piece, but how comfortable are you with it being transparent to the world? And what pieces are you comfortable showcasing and highlighting that support your message? And what other things do you want to keep just for you that are important and special and maybe don't belong on the internet, and I think those things are different for everyone. But if we approach it in that way, it kind of gives us a new perspective into our business and how we can blend the personal and professional. So
very good. I love it. Yeah, I'll turn this over to you. Let's go ahead and do your teaching right now in your course.
let's do it.
This meaning this is it. That'd be a great segue for you to now go ahead. Let's do your master class.
Yeah, well, I think there are some really simple things that I see brands do, and
Mhm,
especially people who want to start new businesses
mhm,
do, when they're starting their brand. So I created a guide, that if you want to find out if you are scaring your sales away, then
uh,
go to imchelseymariecom/free. And you'll unlock a video that talks really directly about how your brand impacts your revenue, and it's a little assessment. It's going to help you kind of highlight what you need to adjust or highlight more in order to stand out, because no matter how saturated your industry is, there is space for you.
yeah. Fabulous. So that's imchelseymariecom/free. And of course, we'll have that, in the show notes. But that sounds great. I might even go take that assessment, even though you're in charge of my brand. But that might be kind of fun to take that assessment. Huh, how cool is that? I
I'll
like
send
that.
it to you.
Okay, send it to me. Good. All right. And very good. Where can people find you, Chelsey?
Yeah, find me on Instagram at I am Chelsey Marie, or on TikTok. I'm starting to do some new videos over there at Brave Your Own Brand. And obviously, my website is going to give you the most resources and access. So I am chelseymariecom will tell you anything you want to know about me.
Fabulous. And you can ask me too.
Yeah, and you can ask Marla or go look at her website. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, go to my website. That's a Chelsey website. Yeah, in fact, to again, to your credit, to speaking of websites, I mean, I'm always getting compliments on my website.
I love that.
Always. Yeah.
I
Always.
love it more when it converts into clients for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and to be honest, everybody, that's not an easy thing. I mean, we're constantly tweaking it
Mhm.
all the time because it doesn't convert at times, and like, oh God, what's going on? Why is this not right? I mean, that's the truth and the reality. I think y'all know that, with today's technology and innovation and change and trends and whatever, what worked for 3 years doesn't work anymore. It's like, okay, what do we got to
Gotta
do
change
now?
it up.
Yeah, change it up. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Chelsey, for being here. And I'm proud to, let everybody know the magic behind my brand. Yeah,
Well, I'm honored to be the magic behind your brand, and I can't wait to share this with my community too.
yeah, awesome, terrific. So again, thank you. All right. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody, and really go to Chelsey's assessment. She's got just this, hey, it's just magic. It's all I can say. She's got kind of a magic energy behind her, and I know you'll find a lot of value in however far you go with her. But she's always got some great stuff for you to see, and follow her on Instagram. So yes, is intuition, right? Following your joy, always, instead of the expected, logic and reason and judgment and all of those things that, keep us, in my terms, small. Like, expand, listen to your intuition. It will always lead you in the right place. Yeah. All right, very good. So until next episode, be well and be blessed. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye bye. Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to up-level your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.